allergies, seasonal allergies, and health ailments that link back to the fact that you have a food allergy or intolerance. This is what we're going to be talking about today. Certified naturopath Pamala Schwarz is going to be teaching us about a technique known as N.A.E.T. It's an allergy elimination practice that has helped many across the world. Pamela has been providing natural healthcare services since 2005. She has a degree in traditional naturopath and is a certified natural healthcare practitioner. She's also received her certification as an N.A.E.T practitioner, which is a natural, non-invasive, and painless method of allergy elimination. She believes health is your wealth, and she has a passion to educate those that are seeking change. I believe you're truly going to love her, all her wisdom and expertise. So get ready to learn and share how you and others can help naturally eliminate allergies. Hey, it's Autumn McLeese, your birth doula and crunchy mama source for choosing healthier, alternative ways of living. Because when you know better, you do better. Join me as we explore topics that might challenge what you know to be true when it comes to health, birth, and beyond. Let me help you think outside the box and empower you with steps to do better. Your best life could be on the other side of this next podcast, so join me now. Naturopath Pamala Schwarz is with us today, and we're going to be discussing a technique that everyone can benefit from, of all ages, wouldn't you say, Pamela?
Absolutely, 100%, yes.
Love it. And so, Pamela, thank you so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege.
Oh, I'm so excited. We're just going to jump right in because there is so much to cover here. And we could obviously talk about all your amazingness of being a naturopath and all of that. But I want to hear, how and when did you learn about this treatment, if you would call it that, called N.A.E.T? And then why did you choose to get certified in this?
All right. Well, my journey as a naturopath began long before I ever even thought or even knew of the word naturopath. I myself had suffered with autoimmune disorders and diseases, and in my 30s, I was very, very ill. And I did what most people do. I went to conventional medicine. I was really a great patient. I was very obedient and compliant, but I just wasn't getting better. I wasn't responding to medication. And my office is in Redlands, California. That's where I was living. And there was a naturopath in town that people were telling me about. And this is after being sick for about 6 years. And at this point, I was on disability. So I wasn't even working. And I really had very little hope. And so really out of desperation, I went in to see this particular naturopath. And she actually was certified in this technique, and it was one of the few things that she used to help me regain and recover my good health. And I had such great benefits from it that I just started researching and started reading and started learning, trying to figure out why is it that for so many years I was doing what I was told to do, and my doctors were trying to help me get better, but I was non-responsive to any medication. And this condition that I was told I would have forever was beginning to resolve itself, and I wasn't taking medication. So that started my journey. So I actually wanted to be an N.A.E.T practitioner before I even wanted to be a naturopath. But I couldn't be an N.A.E.T practitioner unless I was a healthcare professional. And that's when I went back to school and became a naturopath.
Wow. That is really interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But I love your passion for it. So what is N.A.E.T? Like, what does it stand for? How does it work? What does it do?
All right. Yeah. So at first, when you hear about N.A.E.T, it seems a little weird. That's the nice way to put it. But really, it's really based in science. So N.A.E.T stands for Nambudripad, and Dr. Devi Nambudripad is the physician who discovered N.A.E.T. And of course, like many great things, it was an accident. And so N stands for Nambudripad, AET stands for Allergy Elimination Technique. So it's Nambudripad's Allergy Elimination Technique, and N.A.E.T for short. And Dr. Devi studied Eastern medicine, Western medicine, was an acupuncturist, and a chiropractor. And
Wow.
she was able to take all of those modalities and figure out that there was a way to eliminate allergies completely and totally. And she started testing out her technique on her patients and started to see amazing results. And she refined her technique, changed things around, and eventually began to teach other practitioners, which I'm so grateful for. So the technique's been around for more than 30 years, and it's worldwide.
I'd love to dive into like a little bit more of what this involves so people can kind of get an idea. Is it
Okay.
a physical treatment? Is it, a pill or a capsule or a supplement? Let's dive into a little bit more about what it is that's taking place.
Okay. That's a great question. So NAET, when it first was discovered and practiced, it used acupuncture. So now we use acupressure. So we don't use acupuncture, although many NAET practitioners who are acupuncturists may still use needles as well. In our office, it's just acupressure. And that's the way I was trained. So NAET, what it recognizes is everything in the universe has a unique identifying vibrational frequency. So at first, when we talk about frequencies, it sounds kind of new agey and kind of out there and maybe not based in science, and it's just kind of woo-woo. But that's actually not true. Physicists who study, they're scientists who study the universe, the sun, the moon, the stars, the universe, the earth, and all of the planets in the cosmos. One thing that they know for sure and that they teach is that everything that exists in the universe must have a unique identifying vibrational frequency. So what does that mean to us? That means our hair, our clothing, this pen, and anything that we eat or drink or touch has a unique identifying vibrational frequency. And this is physics. So this is indisputable and it's a fact. Now, how do these frequencies affect our health? We have a nervous system. It's a bundle of nerves that go up and down our spine. And then we have nerve endings that come to all of our extremities, our feet, our hands, our skin. These nerve endings are constantly picking up signatures, which are the frequencies. And it's checking with the brain how the nervous system must respond. Is this something safe? Is this something harmful? How does the brain have, let's say, this particular frequency classified? And so then the brain checks its file folders, for sake of simplicity, and sends the message back to the nervous system how it is to respond. So then what happens is the nervous system will then respond appropriately. So let me give you an example. I have a peanut, and the peanut is classified in my brain as being dangerous. Now, this is a misinformation. This is not correct. This is what allergies are. Allergies are an inappropriate response from our nervous system to a harmless stimuli. Stimuli can be anything.
You defined that.
Yeah. So stimuli can be a cat, a dog. It could be pollen. It could be eggs. It could be dairy. It could be wheat. It could be anything. So whatever the stimuli is, our body's responding inappropriately to it. All right. So that means the body isn't correctly identifying that the stimuli, the cat, the dog, the egg, the nut, the fruit, is harmless. It's identifying it as harmful. And as a result, it has a negative response. So the classic allergic response would be, watery, swollen, itchy eyes, runny nose, welts or rashes on the skin. That's like classic allergic reactions. But there's so many allergic reactions that can occur in the body. It could be irritability. It could be a stomach ache. It could be a headache. It could be some sort of a diagnosed disorder. You could have issues with a gland or an organ like a thyroid in your body. You could be diagnosed with digestive disorders. You can even have swollen joints and be diagnosed with some sort of inflammatory disorder. So it could really be anything. I've seen people cough chronically when they have allergies. I've seen people lose their hair. I've seen people have breathing issues. I mean, it could, you name it, it could be related to an allergic reaction. And people usually are not allergic to one thing. They're allergic to multiple things, but they don't know it. They're not aware of it. So the fact that I can hold a pen in my hand, and let's pretend this is a blueberry since it's a blue pen, and the body, the nervous system checks with the brain responds, and let's say the brain responds back and says, oh, this is really bad. And I eat the blueberry, and I have a negative response. Well, what N.A.E.T does, it changes the body's perspective of the blueberry. Okay, so what was previously viewed as dangerous, N.A.E.T using acupressure down the spine. This releases endorphins in the brain while you are holding on to the sample that we're treating. And as these endorphins are being released naturally, because we're stimulating the spine gently, the body goes, you know what, I have this substance in my hand, the stimuli, and I've got it recorded as dangerous, but I'm releasing endorphins. I don't really think this is dangerous. I think this is beneficial because I'm releasing endorphins. The body will then rewrite its association with the substance from perhaps harmful to harmless. Now, the next time the person ingests this, touch this, puts it on their body, whatever the issue was prior to the treatment, that symptom or that response is no longer there. There's no negative response after that. So that's
I want to go back.
It's pretty simple. I mean, I've really simplified it down, but it's really amazing. It's so non-invasive.
Oh, yeah. So I want to go back for a second because your vibrational little frequency bit, I'm sure there's some women and moms out there that are thinking, okay, wait, hold on. We got to go back to that for a second. Well, I just want to say, I like to call it like God's fingerprint on creation and just different things, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know if that's a good way to explain it, but I also think of like, you're talking about holding something in your hand, like a blueberry. I mean, our body knows if somebody's deathly allergic to that blueberry and they put their hand out with their eyes closed. I mean, you think about it, the body doesn't need to see the item. The body knows that it's allergic or having a bad reaction to that thing, whether the person sees it or not, right? So, I mean,
correct.
that just speaks volumes. That's something we maybe don't think about, but that just goes to back what you were saying.
Absolutely. I mean, have you ever gone to a place and all of a sudden you just start sneezing and sneezing? You're like, wow, I don't know what's wrong with me. There must be something in the air, right? You don't even know what you are around, but the body's identified the frequency of whatever it is that's in your presence. And it's identified it as something that's not good, something that's harmful, and it's trying to eliminate it. That's what sneezing is. You're trying to get rid of something that is in the nostril. So, frequencies is an interesting word, vibrational frequency, because a lot of times I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and a lot of times other Christians, and myself included, way back when, I think of this as more New Agey. But the reality is it's really not New Agey, and really the Lord showed me in His Word where frequencies were part of creation. And this is why today scientists say nothing can exist without a vibrational frequency. So when God spoke the world into existence, and in Genesis, it says that He spoke and it was. Well, we have a voice. Our voice is a vibrational frequency. So we were created in the image of God, and therefore it would be safe to assume that God's voice was also a frequency. And so as He spoke, everything that was created was imprinted with frequency. So I used to think that God created the universe from nothing, but the reality is God used frequencies to create the universe. And this is what is evident today in science when they say nothing can exist without a unique identifying frequency. Whether it's dead or whether it's alive, it must have a frequency if it exists.
So well said. Let's talk about how do we get to this place where we have a negative response to a food or, any particular type of frequency.
So, since everything has a frequency, including emotions, including other people, animals, most or many allergies are inherited. So, whatever's part of, you have a child, and the child's DNA is part of mom's DNA, part of his dad's DNA information, and it makes the child's unique set of information. So inheriting this information from our genetic line is one way of getting it. But we can also acquire allergies in our lifetime. One of the ways is if let's say we have a small child who's drinking a bottle. And while the child is drinking the bottle, a sibling comes up and scares them just to be funny. Mm-hmm. And they become afraid, and they start screaming and crying because somebody just scared them. Well, the body could record milk causes trauma. Milk causes fear. And that can be recorded. And now the child could drink milk, and it may not happen immediately, but over time, get a stomach ache, might throw up, might then become intolerant to that food. So that's another way of acquiring allergies. The other thing that we see that happens is after a severe illness, let's just say they had a severe virus or a bacterial infection or an injury in a fall. When there's trauma to the body, we have seen that people can develop intolerances or allergies to food and other substances.
Wow.
So, yeah. So there's many ways to develop this. So sometimes people say, well, I've eaten strawberries my whole life, and here I am 40 years old, and now I'm getting a rash from it. What is that about? So people do develop things later in life.
That gets you thinking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's foods that we might not call an allergy, but we might call like a hidden like intolerance, right?
Yeah.
Or can't think of the word I was looking for, but I know that there's tests out there that can see which foods we really don't agree with. So maybe we don't have a full-blown allergy, but then those intolerances are causing us, even though we might not be aware, they're causing our immune system to be burdened, right?
Yes, 100%. So these intolerances or allergies or stressors to the immune system from stimuli in our environment really cause our immune system to work overtime. And the way that works is if your immune system is constantly reacting to things that it thinks is unsafe, it's going to become very tired and overworked. You will then be susceptible to other elements that are around you, whether they're viruses, bacteria, some sort of a sickness, disease, disorder, because your immune system is being overworked. An allergy and or intolerance is the number one immune system disorder. From that, it opens the gateway to other autoimmune conditions. And there are many autoimmune conditions that people don't even know are autoimmune, like arthritis. They think that's just from aging. That's an autoimmune condition. That's rheumatoid arthritis, is where your immune system is literally attacking its joint. And so when the immune system is overworked, it begins to lose its intelligence, and it begins to recognize items that are good and necessary for well-being as being harmful. And at that point, it will try to destroy it. So there's so many different autoimmune diseases, thyroid disease, there's eye disease, there's autoimmune adrenal conditions, there's diabetes, there's so many different conditions. And these conditions many times stem from having intolerances or allergic reactions to substances. Sometimes people don't even know they have it. It's that subtle.
Wow.
But we're able to identify them in our office.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you've just made a case for how much we all desperately need this.
Yeah.
And the fact that we can go in and we can calm our body down.
Yep.
And we can identify what is stressing out our body, things we might not have ever known,
Right.
and be able to reverse that so that our body can work towards getting back to that homeostasis.
Right. I mean, one of key. I want to just share one thing, if I may, Autumn.
Yeah.
One key way of knowing if your immune system is responding inappropriately is if you take vitamins and supplements and you're not feeling good or you're not getting the results that you know you're supposed to, you most likely have an aversion to nutrients. That's a key. That's one key way of knowing. Or the other thing that's really, really strange is if we look at the things that most people are allergic to, it's like eggs, nuts and seeds, dairy, fish, fruits, citrus. Some people are allergic to vegetables, avocados, bananas. We would not put these foods in a junk food category. Okay, so,
right.
But if you look at things like potato chips, French fries, fast food, nobody's carrying an EpiPen for those things, right?
Yeah,
because
that's fascinating.
Yes. So really, what Dr. Devi discovered is that we're not really allergic to food. We're allergic to the nutrient the food is carrying. So what that means is if I eat, let's say, ground beef and I have projectile vomiting, I'm probably not allergic to the ground beef. I'm allergic to the iron the beef is carrying. So as a result, I could become anemic. Even though I'm taking lots of iron, my body won't properly absorb it. Or if I have, let's say, hay fever, I just have environmental allergies. That's an allergy to vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin E. That's really not, you're not really allergic to the grass. The grass is very, very, very rich in vitamin C. So that's really a vitamin C allergy, which means any food you eat that's rich in vitamin C will be a stressor to the body.
Wow, we just took things to a whole new level right there.
Yeah.
Wow, and here we are popping vitamin C, and if you've got an, allergy or stressor to that, you're not helping yourself out too much, are you?
No. But the good news is it can be fixed so that you can take that vitamin C.
Yes. And that's why we're here talking. Let's dive into the emotional side a little bit. I know N.A.E.T has that aspect to it. I would love to hear a little bit more about that side.
All right. So most allergies, if not all, have some sort of an emotional component to it. So the treatment automatically includes identifying and addressing the emotional connection to the substance that we're treating. It's usually in the subconscious mind. Most people aren't even aware of it. And especially if it's an inherited type of an aversion, you're not going to be aware of what it is. So emotions are a big part of our physical well-being. And I have seen in a lot of wellness, both allopathic and natural wellness arenas, that the emotions a lot of times are not addressed. Trapped emotions or emotions that are not properly processed can cause physical illness in the body. And this is something that's just not discussed enough. Because when you do everything you're supposed to do and you're not getting better, and no one is talking about the emotional side of our well-being, then your healing is going to be limited. So N.A.E.T recognizes the fact that there is an emotional component, and we, through the process of administering the treatment, that's addressed. And it's not talk therapy, it's not any of that. It's addressed through the actual treatment that's done on the spine. And if there is an emotional component, it's released at that time as well.
I love that. And I agree that there is not much discussion around that. I mean, I have never heard an allopathic medicine type physician talk about that. I have heard it in, more holistic minded practitioners, but that is very important.
Yeah.
I'm glad to touch on that. So let's dive into the technique in which you do a lot of these testing maneuvers, if you will. Some people might not be familiar with muscle testing. So I do want to quickly educate on that. And it really goes along beautifully with all that we're talking about. And that's how it marries into N.A.E.T. But let's explain what muscle testing is and then kind of how that is involved with this N.A.T. practice.
Okay. So muscle testing is a technique that is used by many practitioners who recognize the fact that we're energetic beings. So really, we're electrical beings. I mean, if somebody's heart was to stop beating and the first responders were to arrive and they notice the heart's not beating, the first thing they're going to do is use a defibrillator. And there's a positive and a negative part to the defibrillator, and nobody's supposed to be touching the person because then the current could go through the person into anyone making contact with that person. In the very same way that you jump your car battery, when it's dead, we jump our heart. Now, electricity is not stagnant. It is a current. It is made to constantly move. It is not stagnant. So if we are electrical beings and electricity can bring a dead person back to life again, then we have to recognize the fact that this current flows through our body. When the current flows through our body without restriction, we have strength, energetic strength. Okay, not physical muscle strength. We have energetic strength. So, sometimes you might have a long day. You come home, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm pooped. You're not physically tired. You're energetically tired. Well, muscle testing utilizes a major muscle in the body where when the energy is flowing without obstruction, the muscle is strong. But if I was to hold something that the body recognizes as not being beneficial, it obstructs that flow of energy. And that strong muscle will go weak. Put the item down, and that strong muscle becomes strong again. Now that's muscle testing. And Dr. Devi uses a technique called N.S.T, neuromuscular sensitivity testing, which is similar to muscle testing, but a little bit different. But the concept is the same, where we should have an open current flowing through the body, and we test the muscle and it's strong, and then we put a potential allergen in the person's hand. If the person does not respond well to this substance, that muscle will go weak. And once we administer the treatment while they're holding the substance that the body views as offensive, we do the back treatment. And what we do is we use it's a chiropractic piece of equipment that taps the back very gently but very quickly. And we hit certain points on the nervous system in the back. And once the treatment is done, the substance that used to make the arm go weak, now that same substance does not do that, and the arm is rock solid. This tells us the treatment was successful. Now there's a period of avoiding the substance that we treated for. It's 25 and a half hours that you don't touch it, you don't come around it. But that's kind of how the technique works. We actually are able to test to make sure that the person is no longer responding in a negative way to that item.
I know the first time I experienced muscle testing just blew my mind because, something was put in my hand. Well, first we did some testing on my arm, and I pushed her arm down fine and, all is good. And then, she puts one thing in my hand and I'm fine. And then randomly something else gets put in my hand. And all of a sudden I have completely lost all strength.
Yeah.
And it's mind blowing, but my body knew that it was not jiving with this thing, whatever it was. And so it is fascinating to me. And I feel like I have seen it be so effective in my own health and my health journey And I love that, we're quickly able to kind of educate on that, but also how that goes along with NAET.
Yes, it is. It's such a different concept that it really challenges the status quo. And
Mm-hmm.
when people hear this, it's like, well, and this was my thinking. If it works so well, why doesn't my doctor do it? That's what I kept saying to myself. I mean, if it's really scientific and it's based in science, and what I didn't realize at the time was Western medicine is really heavily rooted in chemistry and biology. It really doesn't take into account physics. So this is part of why it's not mainstream. But then there are also other factors. I mean, they're primarily a symptom-based model, and NAET goes beyond the symptom. It wants to get to the root cause. So its main goal and function is a little bit different. But yeah, I think it should be mainstream. And actually, there are many physicians throughout the nation that are bringing this into their practice.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop and tell a story really quick because it
Okay.
goes perfectly with where we're at and where
Okay.
what we're discussing right now. So I actually, I've been on this health journey myself, and I had heard the importance of making sure that your oral health is all good, that there's no hidden infections or any sensitivities or intolerances within your own body, such as your mouth, right? So I saw this practitioner who muscle tested me to my own teeth. And we went tooth by tooth until one tooth I ended up going weak on. And I thought, uh-oh. And he noticed it too. And we did it again. And sure enough, it was weak. So we finished my mouth, and it was only that one tooth. Well, this practitioner happens to work and have a relationship with a dentist. And so I started actually seeing that dentist because, not the average dentist definitely wouldn't be okay with just someone sending them in and saying, oh, something's wrong with this tooth, take it out or take a look or whatever. So I see this dentist, and he wasn't even able to see it with his just with his eye or an x-ray, but he got in there, and I think there was either some sealant or some old cavity filling or something that he had to kind of drill away, and he found a slight crack in my tooth that was essentially leaking and leaking deep within and getting access to my bloodstream and stressing my body out.
Right.
And so his words to me was, it never fails to amaze me at how this technique works. He has gotten people sent into his office for 7 years, and by the naked eye, he might not see anything, but now he is so trusting of what is taking place with this practitioner that he does what he needs to do to dig a little deeper to look. And sure enough, he sees it time and time again. So thanks to muscle testing, I was able to, deal with another aspect of my health that would have never been dealt with.
Right. And could have potentially caused serious health concerns as you move or hinder your healing.
Yeah.
Keep you trapped in sickness and disease. Yeah. Isn't it amazing? I think it's amazing. It's just like God to do this.
It is.
To give us something so wonderful, so powerful, but yet so simple.
So for those that are going to stay maybe in a more skeptical state, Pamela, is there any evidence to back NAET out there?
Well, there is something called bioenergetic medicine. So that's something that people can research and look up. And Western medicine is now really becoming more and more involved in bioenergetic medicine. And it's the energy of life. And so it is getting more attention, this type of healing. There is a whole research foundation that NAET that has. It's their NAET Research Foundation, and they do all kinds of studies. That it's NARF, N-A-R-F, and if you go to NAET.com, you'll be able to see a lot of this information. and it's headed up and run by a medical doctor. And so N.A.E.T is always doing different studies, but the proof is in the pudding. Mm-hmm. Because you could have the greatest studies with the greatest results, but if you're not producing results clinically in your office, then those studies really, they're not worth anything. And I can tell you that when N.A.E.T is done correctly, the results are amazing. I mean, the results are pretty high. In our office, we see about an 85 to 90% improvement rate on every single person who gets N.A.E.T. And for the small percentage that don't respond the way the majority of people do, we start to dig deeper. You talk about like your mouth, digging deeper, digging deeper, digging deeper. And we usually find the component that has been hindering them from receiving healing.
And that's truly what I love and have such a respect for with all of you amazing holistic practitioners out there, is you're really helping get to the root of the problem, which we just don't get, in mainstream allopathic medicine, unfortunately. And like you said, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, if somebody was allergic, or even I know like N.A.E.T has taken people from anaphylactic, response to foods. Anaphylactic or anaphylaxis? I feel like I'm saying that wrong.
Both words. You can use either one. Yeah.
And giving them back a normal life.
Yeah.
They can actually consume and eat those foods. So I know it's possible. Mm-hmm. And we know that, mainstream medicine and the drug industry, I mean, they don't definitely have it all together. Not every pill wipes out everything. So I just love that we have that we have this. And I'd love to dive into what has been some of the results that you've seen come in your office. What have been those success stories, whether it be in your office or just in general in the world of N.A.E.T?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a great book for those who want to inquire more about N.A.E.T, and it's called Say Goodbye to Illness, and it is by Dr. Devi, Nambudripad. And so there's several case studies in there. I'll tell you about one that is in there. There was a gentleman who his cognitive function began to decline. And he began to behave in a very scary way where he would wander off, he would forget things. It was becoming unsafe for him to be by himself. Well, through a process of elimination and going through N.A.E.T, it was discovered that he was allergic to a fern plant that I believe was either in his house or in his backyard. I cannot remember. And once he got treated for that fern plant, that mental condition, that fog, all lifted and went away. So that's not something that you think about. That's not your classic story of an allergy, response, allergic response to something. But we have seen things anywhere from skin issues to stomach issues to blood pressure issues to even in Dr. Devi's book, there's a case study of breast cancer where the woman was allergic to her bra. Right? So, and she never got Western medicine treatment. She just did the allergy elimination. And when they finally discovered that it was the bra, she got treated for it. Her condition went away. So and a lot of times people say, I want to know what's causing this. And they're looking for one cause. But usually there's not one cause. It's like the straw that broke the camel's back. The straw is light. The straw did not break the camel's back. It was the load that came before the straw that was the problem. And so N.A.E.T removes that load so that when the straw falls on the camel's back, it's nothing.
Wow. That's a really great analogy.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Pamela, go ahead.
Any condition, I would say, if a person has any health concern or condition, especially if it's unresolved or there is no resolution in sight, I would definitely seek out an N.A.E.T practitioner.
Oh, heck, I say just everybody needs to go get it done, no matter what. And that leads us into who is a good candidate. I mean, infants, pregnant women, elderly.
Yeah. So we see newborns all the way. My oldest has been 90 years old.
Wow.
So anybody in between, and absolutely safe for pregnant women. In fact, unborn baby will get benefit from that. It's very, very safe. And a lot of times it's unfortunate to see newborn babies who have, they can't tolerate mom's breast milk. They can't tolerate formula. So we see very, very young babies, and the treatment can very safely be done on them. So really, there's no age limit. It is safe for all ages.
I love that.
Yeah.
Gentle and safe for all ages.
Yes.
We need more of that in our life.
Yes.
And effective too.
And no negative side effects.
No negative side effects.
No
Even
negative
better.
side.
Cherry on top.
Yeah.
Oh, Pamela, well, where can people find you personally? You obviously have an amazing office with, healthcare, natural healthcare for all different types of conditions and whatnot. And obviously you do N.A.E.T there. So where can people find you? And then also if someone, isn't nearby, where could someone find an N.A.E.T practitioner?
All right, good question. So our office is located in Redlands, California, and we are on the web. So if you were to go to Schwarz, WC, and WC stands for Wellness Center.com, you'll locate us. And Schwarz is spelled a little different. It's SCHWARZWC.com. So, of course, we'd love to see anybody interested in achieving or regaining their health. And for those who are not in the area, you can go to N.A.E.T.com. And there's an option to locate practitioner, and you can put in your zip code, and it will give you the practitioners that are in your area.
Pamela, this has been phenomenal.
Oh,
I have loved this.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I do love N.A.E.T. I love talking about it, and I especially love educating others that there's hope and healing through natural health and healing.
Amen. And must I just add, you're really gifted at explaining it, because I don't think I could explain it as well as you. So I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Loved having you here.
Thank you.
Well, that about does it, friends. It's all about knowing better so that you can do better. And boy, did we accomplish that here in this episode. I wish you all the best. Go find an N.A.E.T practitioner, and we will catch y'all next time on our next episode. We'll see you then. God bless.